So I wish I had a chance to prune these when they were still outside, but the cold came in, I had to get them inside, and as you can see, they don't look great. But if you watch my previous video, this is perfectly normal for hibiscus to go through a transition phase where they lose a lot of their leaves, and it's a perfect opportunity to prune them. You can see my topiaries, they're huge, and they need to be cut way back. So let's get to it. First thing I do when I'm deciding how to prune these is I choose a height. And I want about 4 or 5 feet, so about right here. I'm just gonna take my pruners and go right across the top and clip them. And what you can see is if I bring in, whenever I'm choosing where to cut on a stem like this, you can see that I have some side shoots here, and they'll make for a nice canopy next year. So I wanna follow this stem down, I'm gonna prune it right above those side shoots. Here you can see we kind of got it nice and leveled off at the height that I want. Now I'm going to go around the perimeter for all these branches that are sticking way too far out, and I'm going to cut them all the way back. How far back do you cut them? That's kind of up to you. So in here it's very cramped, so I'm going to want to shrink this back a lot so I can fit these plants in. So I'm going to use a rule of thumb where I look at my container, I'll go out about 6 inches past the edge of the container, and that's where I'm going to cut all of my branches. And again, when you zoom in, you can see here, I'm going to be cutting them right above another little leaf joint so that I don't have a lot of extra dead stem. Here's another good example. You can see that there's a lot of offshoots, so I can prune it all along the stem at one of those offshoots. But like I said, I want to go back to about 6 inches over. I'm going to cut it right back to this growth point. Now we don't have this stem, and then this will eventually take over, become the new branch. You can go through and pick off any of the yellowing leaves if there's any still on here. If I can pull this out, this actually comes right out of the pot, but there's your pruned hibiscus. A lot smaller, perfectly manageable for the winter in the home. And then watch as we take you along on this journey, but all of these leaves will slowly start to regrow. This will be a nice lush green canopy in the middle of winter. When spring comes around, it's just gonna pop. So we got a couple more to do. Let's get to it. I wanted to bring you in for this one. You can see here, see how this stem is very black. Actually can kind of just snap. That's a good sign that this branch is dead. So what I'm going to do is follow this branch all the way back to where it meets the main stem. And then I'll just get rid of it, because this one is not going to come back. There's another one down here. And you can see, very black. Put my hand behind it. There you go. It's very black, and if I can just kind of break it, there's no more living tissue in there. So you're just going to follow it back and snip it where it meets the new stem. And then you can see where it meets the new stem. It's still alive, but in the middle it's black. So it was going to die out anyway. Another thing we need to touch base on is that, like I've said before, the hibiscus are always going to try to revert to that shrub form. So if you have any shoots that are coming off of your trunk, you want to snip them off to really keep that topiary look. There's another one right here. Then as I'm going, this branch is a little too low. Snip him off, and now I have a nice trunk where it'll fan out to the topiary up top. Hibiscus, lots of flowers still, but it's time to prune. So I'm going to find my height, 4 or 5 feet, take my snippers and go right across the top. So I'm going to bring it in so you can see exactly where I'm making these cuts. And on a branch like this, you can see how tall it is. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow it down till you see another set of leaf joints. And these guys are growing out. So I'm going to bring this down and cut it right above those. And that way I'm not left with a long dead stick. I cut it right above, and then these side shoots will take out and become the new branches next year. So I could cut it all along wherever I want above these side shoots, but I'm going to choose this one, cut it the farthest back. Here's another one. I'm actually going to take all of this off and just leave it right above this little baby shoot. Sometimes it involves taking off a good section of the hibiscus, even with the flowers. But these things grow pretty quickly, so don't fret. It'll all be there next year. And some of these side shoots down here growing off going to affect the topiaries. I don't want them. And then this little guy will probably be the last one, just because he's straggling, he's growing down. I want more of an upright one. And here we have it. Another finely pruned hibiscus topiary ready for the winter. And remember, when you're pruning these, there's not a lot of vegetation left in the plants. It's not outside, it's not growing. So you're going to want to keep these very dry because they're not going to be using a lot of water. Wait until the leaves start to regrow and come back and this starts to look more like a bush plant with a lot of vegetation. Then you can up your watering, but it's just going to use so little water now. So that's it for topiaries. Let me get a bush over here for you. For those of you with a hibiscus bush, we can show you how to prune those. And as you can see, it actually has a lot more leaves than the topiaries still do, but we still need to prune it. And you just don't have to be as crazy. I'm just going to find any that have gone too far off to one side that look leggy, any that they're growing too tall like this one. And I think that looks good. So not as much defoliating as the topiaries because they can tend to grow a little bit faster and more than your bush, but just trimming it up. A bit smaller. This one definitely needs some water, so I'll give it a drink in a little bit. And our last one. There we have it. And here we have our nice trimmed up topiaries and bushes. And they are ready for winter. And trust me, they will rebound. Remember this one. Look how few green leaves it has. But she will come back. So good luck pruning your hibiscus. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. And we'll see you around.